We get on these microphones and we talk about the Boston music scene and how much we have love for it.
All the time.
And we try to advocate for it, but there's still levels that we need to get to do the work that you're doing. You know, we talk the talk, but you're really walking the walk. You know, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know where to start this journey. I don't know if we like take it all the way back because, you know, just kind of, you know, doing some research on your beginnings, it kind of feels like there's just been moments in your life that kind of I don't know, set the stage for where you're at now. Right. You know, a story that we're very familiar with, not myself personally, but I know a lot of people who've been a part of like the METCO program and, you know, going from their communities in Boston and being, I don't want to say shipped off, but
no, it's true.
It's shipped off. We can say shipped off.
Shipped off. Yeah.
And going, you know, to these suburban communities and having to integrate with, you know, people who just don't look like us. You know what I mean? And I've seen arguments for both sides, but where do you stand on that? And you know, how did that experience kind of shape you?
Yeah, I mean, so I am the youngest of 5 children, and my youngest brother, who's older than me, he got into the METCO program first. So he started at Wayland. And at that time, you can do a 2-for-1. So if a sibling's in, you can bring in another sibling. So I didn't have to go through the process.
Method.
So at this time, like, was this like a lottery program? Like, did people feel lucky to be a part of the METCO program in the beginning?
Because at that time, it was really black and white. It wasn't international yet. Like, that's where METCO is now. So at that point, I ended up going into the Lincoln school system. And I started in 2nd grade because I went to BPS up until 1st grade. I went to the Winthrop School in Roxbury. But I got bored and it was just a lot to have 2 children in 2 different school systems. So I entered in 2nd grade. And it was hard because literally my life for the next 11 years was getting up at 5, be out the house by 6, be on the bus by 6:45 to be to school by 8.
So that's over an hour commute?
Yes. And then from 8 to 3, be in school. And then if I had extracurriculars, I'd have to stay in the suburbs at least till 5 or 6 o'clock, and you better not miss the bus.
Because you're not getting home.
You're not going to
Or
get
your mama going to have to come get you or somebody.
Yeah.
And then to get home, and then if you didn't do your homework while you were at school, then you had at least another 2 hours, and I was in bed by 9 o'clock and repeated that every day.
Somehow they expect you to be energized and awake in class. Like,
but we're doing them a favor. We're giving them better education.
Essentially, what you had to do is you had to sleep on the bus. And then if you were fortunate to have breakfast at home, then you got to sleep at least maybe another 15 minutes before the bell rang. And then you just started your day.
What about your day?
I know a lot of people who said like they would. There's families that might take them in, like, and
I had
after
a host
school.
Family.
Okay,
I had a host family, and I still talk to that host family. I love my host family. I was very fortunate with this particular host family.
I heard some horror stories. With the host.
Really,
and those are very true. But you know what my experience was in METCO was racism hit at 2nd grade. I got dropped off with 98 other black and brown students in a cul-de-sac in Lincoln, and the first person to call me the N-word was a little Hispanic kid named Chaz. I'll never forget him. And the person who fought my battle when that happened was a white girl who's one of my best friends who happened to be my host family named Jessica.
Really?
And she always came to my defense because she just wrong is wrong and right is right. Like she protected me up until a point.
As it should be.
Shout out Jessica.
Shout out to Jessica. Chaz, you're bad for the community. That's clear. We don't rock with you here.
That's crazy.
But you know, literally,
Chaz is a crazy man. No cap.
I'll never forget that first year in 2nd grade. I had a teacher, bless her heart, named Miss Rosen, who did not believe that black kids should learn anything.
Whoa!
So my first 2nd grade year,
your teacher feels this way.
Up, like
I'll never forget her because she just did not like us at all. So I had to clean cubbies my first year.
Dang.
I didn't learn anything.
You didn't learn anything
I didn't
in
learn
2nd
anything.
grade. So what? So she just separated you from the group?
Yeah. while everyone's out recess, I had to go clean the cubbies and wash the floor. Oh yeah,
That's crazy.
didn't just serve it.
And
Yeah.
the school
Yo.
administration's not doing anything about this?
They took her side up until, and this is why I love my mother, told my mom the story. Next day, the worst thing you want to do is piss off a black mother.
Facts.
So she rolled up, met with the METCO director at that time, who also sided with the
Really?
teacher, and said,
What
so,
is there to side with? I don't understand. Like
they're
why?
learning.
What's the
Because-
justification?
because I'm a young little girl, right? I am entering this new program. Like what would I know? Jesus, what would I know about injustice?
Mhm.
You know, and I'm like, I know my feelings. So my mom called out the METCO director and that particular teacher. Basically, I got tired of that particular teacher telling me what my value was. So I angrily pushed a chair across the room because I'm like, you know, I know what my value is.
Right.
And she took that as me being an angry black girl. So what happened was they put me in special education because of that one incident.
Because you pushed a chair.
Because I pushed a chair.
That's crazy.
And I'm
What?
a
This is
lover,
insane.
not a fighter, right? So my thing is, my mother said, well, you must have done something.
That's
That's
usually.
That's how it be.
I did something. though. That's the difference. I did something, but this is
So, no,
crazy.
this is my mom speaking
That's
to the
how it be.
school. Like, you all must have done
Right.
something for her to get this
Right.
angry because she's a happy child when she's at
At
home,
home.
Right,
right? So my mother, you know, was on the METCO director at that time every day, every month, from quarter to quarter because we were on a quarter system.
Mhm.
And I ended up graduating from second grade and moving on throughout my entire education. But that, you know, up until basically 8th grade, I was a kid that was picked on. I was bullied. Everyone took my food, like all those kind of things. But I still stayed humble because I knew being the tallest girl in school would have repercussions, right?
Facts. Yeah, I feel
I
you.
excelled academically because I loved the books. But socially was the hardest experiment in the METCO program because no one teaches you that,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And just all the new things, right? The freedom that, you know, my white friends could have because they have these $1.2 million homes. And I'm like, I'm in Roxbury. Like, I don't.
Right.
Mind you, they're 5 minutes away. They don't got to take an
they
hour
ain't gotta
travel.
be, you know,
Facts.
but I was very fortunate. My host family, I consider them like a very Woodstock type. Like her parents smoke weed and everything else, but they just had they were really down for civil rights, so they were really on my side and they were very protective while I was out in the suburbs. But when I got to high school, my life completely changed because now I went from the Lincoln school system to Lincoln Sudbury, and these are two towns that have so much wealth, but they fight each other. And then here's a whole bunch of black and brown kids coming to
Being
the
thrown into the
suburbs.
mix, right.
So, I was, 9th grade was rough. I ended up getting off special education because, again, I excelled academically. Like, you couldn't touch me on my grades.
They never questioned like why is she still here? She's excelling so much in the class.
Nope.
It's crazy.
Nope.
Why stay in the METCO program for that long then? If you didn't feel like,
Because,
unless it was benefiting you more than it was harming you.
Well, it's interesting because my mother asked me every year, like, do you really want to do this? And I come from a family where we walk our talk.
For sure.
Right? Unless it's really going to physically cause me harm or literally put my life in jeopardy. If it's just people's words, I can work through that, right? If I got a certain system in place. So I knew it was going to be harder as I got through the grades, but I could hide in the books because that's where the separation was, is that there were a few black kids that really did well academically and everyone else was doing great socially. So I could hide in the books. It was when I got to high school that everything changed because I ended up learning very quickly about the chain of command from senior to freshman.
We all do.
And
Listen real quick.
That's the
but
real
the thing
growing
is,
pains
I'm
right
still
there.
the tallest girl out of it, like
the entire school.
right? So I got hazed by the METCO seniors. I never forget.
We not on the same team?
No cap. The METCO scene
There's only
is
so
crazy.
much of us though. Like what?
It was like,
it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter
Wow.
because I didn't. No one told me that I couldn't sit in the back of the bus, which is so interesting considering Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
So seniors,
Oh,
like the pecking order is freshmen, junior, senior, all that stuff. So I went to the back of the bus because that was where the most legroom was.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
For sure.
But this particular gentleman, and I'm just gonna call him a gentleman, that was his seat. I didn't know that because it's
Right.
freshman
Sign
year.
sheet.
You know that
Right.
back seat of the bus,
Right.
like on the left side, where it's like one person
Yeah,
can only
that
sit
was
on
my
it.
seat.
That was the
That was
seat.
my
That's-
seat.
All right. No, that seat's
That's the seat.
that's
That's
for-
the
that's-
prestigious
you might-
seat.
You might have brought it on yourself. man. I'm not
That's a
gonna lie.
prestigious
I
seat.
remember my
Well,
first
here's
week
the
of high
thing.
school.
Here's the
Go
thing.
ahead.
My thing is, if I'd sat in the front,
Mhm.
I'd have to take up a whole seat,
Right.
which
Mhm.
meant there was gonna be a freshman that would be standing up on the bus, and you can't do that legally at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
time. So yeah, I sat at the back of the bus, and this gentleman, called me the B word and everything except godly,
Mm.
and I was like, all right. Well, I went back home, told my dad the next day. 3 uncles, all my brothers,
Took care of that.
couple of aunties,
Hey.
few nephews.
Oh, the whole family.
Oh, wow.
Showed up at the bus stop with the gentleman. All I know is
He's a senior.
I got
so
that
that's
seat.
crazy.
Yeah.
At least for the year.
That's all you needed to know.
Facts.
But I was literally, instead of that gentleman bullying me, he used everyone else.
do
wow.
Mm.
Right. So I'll never forget, it must have been 2 degrees outside, and we're going up Trapello Road, heading to Sudbury.
Mhm.
And the seniors decided to put down every single window on the bus. And this is a hour ride
Facts.
because of
Dang.
where I sat.
That's not gonna hurt them too, though.
Listen, I'm so close with my class. Like we joke about it now, but we all made sacrifices because, like, okay, they're only gonna be here for a couple of months.
Facts.
We're gonna be here for the next 3.5 years.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we can work it out.
Wow.
But when I got into high school, I really excelled socially because I started my own stuff. So I started a student-led organization called Universal Rhythm, which was literally taking all the METCO kids
Mhm.
and using talent shows as a way to convey their lived experiences.
Mhm.
That's fire.
Right. So what made it amazing was I was the only student being able to negotiate with the principal to take over a class period of the week. No one had ever done that.
That's fire.
To do this talent show.
I know they appreciated that.
Trailblazing.
Right? They was like, all right, maybe
Yeah,
she's
no,
all
you're
right.
trailblazing.
Maybe she's not my fault.
So at that point, it was 1,200. The student population was 1,200 students, and we had a black box theater,
Mhm.
and it was 100-seat theater, but everyone's trying to jam pack
Yeah.
into this theater to see this talent show.
And it's, again, all students, not just METCO students.
all students.
So then, I have a question about that, right?
Yeah,
Socially, did you ever feel like you had to code switch?
every day.
Mm.
Every day. You
Yeah.
kidding?
Because the conversation that we've had before that we don't.
Is
we kinda
code
go back
switching
and
a
forth about,
skill,
is it-
or are
Oh,
you?
no,
is it
it's a skill.
disingenuous?
It's a
Is
skill
it-
because there were some.
Are you hurting yourself because you're not truly, that's kind of the argument. It's like,
I'll
are you
say
being
this.
disingenuous to yourself?
Nope. It's exhausting.
Yeah,
to be
sure.
very clear.
Mhm.
But, and I don't know if I can curse here, but
Oh, it's bad for the community.
Okay, I was about to say, like,
I
We're
remember
only upping it up for you.
I sat on a panel a couple years ago, and I was interviewed by a lovely human being, Theo Tyson, and they had asked me this question about, how have you been able to utilize your METCO experience into your adulthood? And I'm like, I absolutely know how to deal with white people shit now
For sure.
Yeah.
because of the amount of code switching.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I've had to be in a place of observation more than engagement to then know how I need to move. Almost to a point of being like Neo, like seeing the future
Yeah.
because
Like, I
the
know how y'all be
behavior
I
repeats
know what this
itself
is.
over
Yep.
and over again.
And it just changes. It
Yeah,
just
it looks
Yeah.
different
It
generation to generation, but the
it looks
essence
different in
of
a
it is the
corporate
same.
office,
Yeah.
but it's all the same.
Yeah, and so that part of being a METCO student, that level of code switching, allowed me in my adulthood to navigate a lot easier.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? Like, I don't need to give 100% an environment like that anymore because it hasn't changed since I was in high school. It's how do I utilize people and systems because those systems haven't changed either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
In some cases, they're a little bit more broken, which I find to be more opportunistic. But the navigation of using that code switching skill has allowed me to navigate to do things that I want to do
Mhm.
Word.
because I've had to do it on my own anyway.
Yep.
Sure.
So I operate from that lens because I love the books. I all my teachers love me and all the fun stuff, but that navigation piece and knowing when to let your representative show up versus your whole self is because of that METCO experience.
I heard.
So
Makes sense.
It seems like it's a little bit of both. You know what I mean?
It's how you want to.
It's how you use it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you felt like, and there's some METCO alumni that I know, they're just like, I don't ever want to turn back to Massachusetts. You can have that. Like, I've had that extreme, and then there's the others who just stay quiet under the radar because they just didn't want to be seen.